And Sarnoff, how's it going? Look, I'm a massive DC fan and Warner Brothers fan, and I just want to ask you what it would take to release the Snyder Cut. Yes, that's me, Big Mouth. You watch the videos. Oh, I'm so happy and so proud. So, what do I have to do? Ooh, Anne, I didn't realise that's what it would all take. I do like a woman who likes to take control. Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching unless you're Anne Sarnoff. Welcome back to Big Mouth. You can keep up with this and every conversation I ignite on my brand new Instagram that's taking a life of its own already, Big Mouth, and my Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Now, today, first of all, we are going to talk about release the Snyder Cut because Warner Bros. RT Snyder Cut. Sorry, slip of the tongue there. But they have created a schedule for this week's hashtagging events all week. Now, if you check out my Instagram, the schedule I have put up there, it's a bit hard to make out. You do have to zoom in a bit, but study it. I can't make heads nor tail of it. I think there's an event for each actor from the Snyder Cut version of Justice League, right? So I think we're supposed to hashtag release the Snyder Cut with their names for an hour saying different things. I think that's what they're going to do, but I could be mistaken. So basically what RT Snyder Cut are saying is we're almost there. Now, I agree with this, but how do they know? And this is why I suspect they're part of Warner Brothers. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any difference. I'm not having a go at them. But they're too organised. They're too calm. They're too chilled out. They're doing a great job. I congratulate them for bringing the movement together. They've been around for a while now, and they don't believe in negativity. They are an organisation. I mean, we all know the Snyder Cut stands, right? I'm one of them, right? The Zack Snyder fans, stands, whatever you want to call us. And we're not level-headed. They're too level-headed. That's why I think they're Warner Brothers, and I think they've been playing us all along. They obviously made the decision to release Zack's version of Justice League a while, but don't let that get your guard down, because we need to keep on fighting, because they may not be Warner Brothers, and we need to get this cut released, which I believe is going to happen. And next Sunday is the 17th of November. I think it's next Sunday. 2 years since Joss Whedon's version of Justice League was released. They're going to be doing some special stuff. We could get the announcement of the release of the movie. Don't get your hopes up. You never know. But I am planning some special stuff for the DCEU Daily on that day. I've got a few ideas, but there's a few things I want to do as well. So we will see what we do with that. Now, the title of today's DCEU Daily, and by the way, welcome to Monday's edition of the DCEU Daily, is Release the Snyder Cut is only the beginning. Yes, I'm talking about phases here. Once we get the release of the Snyder Cut put out there, then we need to fight for David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. And then we have to fight for Zack Snyder to return to the DCEU. I've discussed this before, but I think it's a very important point. I know a lot of you are going to let your guards down once it's announced the Snyder Cut is going to be released. That is simply not good enough. Zack Snyder needs to be put back in place, continuing his arc. And when he's completed his first arc, he can continue running the DCEU. He was going to give us the most compelling, amazing arc. If you think about it, Clark and Lois were going to have a child and call it Bruce, for crying out loud. We're talking about Superman, who didn't trust Bruce Wayne at first. They fought. They almost killed each other. And then he ends up naming his child after Bruce Wayne. Think about how beautiful that is. We want it all completed. We want Justice League 2 after the Snyder Cut 2. We want Man of Steel 2. I've discussed this before, but I think it's important to keep on going on about it. So Release the Snyder Cut is only the beginning. It's very, very important that we understand that. Now, you can probably see behind me that I've paused a very important element of the Snyder Cut. This, my friends, is the Snyder Cut. This, my friends, is what we are fighting for. This is everything, because everyone goes on about how Zack makes beautiful movies. Nobody makes movies like Zack does. They don't. But this scene is the most beautiful scene I've ever seen in a comic book movie. Now, I haven't seen Zack's version of the movie. And what really hurts me about this, look how beautiful it is. I take it it's a yes. What? The ring. It's brilliant. Henry's Clark Kent standing there with the flannel and clad in a proper farm, the Kent farm, not the fake backgrounds and CGs we got in the theatrical release. That is a beautiful moment. And I haven't seen the whole scene. I'm just telling you, that's a beautiful freaking moment. That is what the Snyder Cut stands for. That is what we are fighting for, everyone. Do you understand me? Henry Cavill as Clark Kent talking to Lois Lane. It's a relationship we were invested in from Man of Steel, and in Batman v Superman it was beautiful. The way she knows he's going to sacrifice himself at the end of BVS. And even though she knows it has to be done, she's trying to stop him. But in reality, Lois Lane wouldn't really stop him because Lois Lane is a hero herself, right? So it's a beautiful relationship. But this image here, that's what I'm trying to say to you, is everything we're fighting for. This sums up Zack Snyder. Everyone talks about his action, the violence, but nobody talks about the soft, gentle moments that Zack has created within the DCEU. There are plenty of them. In Man of Steel, it's not all wham, crash, thank you, ma'am. I mean, those are great. I want to see those in CBMs, and I don't know what people's problems with the explosions and the action. Awesome. Something we've never seen before. But what about the quiet scenes with Martha and Clark in Man of Steel? Beautiful. When he's trying to reassure her that he's not going anywhere. Because she explains to him when he was a baby, she was worried that she was going to lose him. And he goes, or she said something, she goes, you were worried they were going to, you were worried about like everyone finding out about me. She goes, look, the truth about you is beautiful. We always knew that. And that's her reassuring him. And after that, he reassures her. So I'm talking about here the quiet moments within Zack Snyder's DCEU. People don't talk about them enough. And they're beautiful in BVS when he rings up his mum in the middle of the night. Again, he needs reassuring. Why didn't Dad ever leave Kansas? Brilliant. Brilliant moments. Again, nobody talks about. We've never had Clark Kent fleshed out with these scenes with Martha Kent. Only in Smallville, but not in the films. Not even in the Reeve films. We had a little moment with young Clark Kent, right? But we didn't see an older Clark Kent going back to see his mother, which I think was a mistake. But I mean, they just didn't think of it. I'm not having a go at them. I love Christopher Reeve's Superman, especially in the first one, for crying out loud. But Henry fleshed out this character. And Justice League, and the Snyder Cut of Justice League is so important because this is, I suppose, the final part. Really, it's not. Really, we should have had a Justice League 2. Hopefully, we can still get that if we fight to get Zack back. And this is what I'm saying. Releasing the Snyder Cut is just phase 1. Let's use a Marvel term. F it, right? That's just phase 1. But there's more to come. We want David Ayer's cut released, and we want Zack running the DCEU. They've got their other pockets of DC universes now in films. The Batman, Joker, So, Warner Brothers took on a lot of heat to protect Todd Phillips with the Joker, right? And that's quite right too. So now it's time for them to protect Zack and his vision. His vision wasn't realised because they kicked him out because they become afraid. But the truth is, Warner Brothers stand for that vision. And in their history, they always have. But they had a weak moment because they had a weak leader. And that's why it went wrong. But since Ant Sarnoff has come in, they've doubled down on gritty, dark filmmaking. And they haven't reacted to box office being a little bit low, like Dr. Sleep. That's still going to make a profit, but not the money that the bloggers think it should. So they're going to start being negative about that film. Dr. Sleep's a really good film, by the way. But anyway, it's not about Dr. Sleep. I'm going to talk about Dr. Stephen King in a moment because there's a certain comic book Stephen King DC crossover happening, and I want to read the article from Screen Rant. But I don't think there's any version in the world, there's any reality where Snyder fans want more than the release of the Snyder Cut, because that's what I want. So this is what I'm saying. Phase 2, get Ayer's cut released. And Phase 3, get Zack to continue making and developing and leading the arc for all DCEU movies. What do I mean by that? Suicide Squad, we had Bruce Wayne in it. You know, they were talking about Superman's death. You know, that wonderful phrase by Waller, Superman changed the world when he flew across the sky. He changed the world again when he didn't. Beautiful. So those first 3 DCEU movies, so interlinked and interconnected, but much better than the MCU because the interconnection was so emotional, so compelling. And then in Wonder Woman, we didn't really have an interconnection apart from seeing Wayne Enterprises lorries bringing something in for Dinah, right? Better than nothing. But the original version, before people went batshit crazy about the DCEU and how apparently bad it was, which is bullshit, right? Wonder Woman was going to have more interconnection. Ben Affleck was actually going to at least cameo in that movie. That was the whole idea, that Bruce Wayne would show up in all the movies. So we had Man of Steel, which he wasn't in, of course, because it's an origin. It's the first film. And then he's obviously in BVS. He was in Suicide Squad. He was going to be in Wonder Woman. And, of course, he played a big role in the Snyder Cut of Justice League. I think we want justice for a lot of people. Justice for Zack. Justice for Ben. Justice for Henry. Justice for this man here. Look at him. His beautiful face. He looks like Clark Kent. He looks like Superman. His performance in this scene is beautiful. He's a brilliant actor, and he had his appearance. Do you know in Superman 3, right? I'll give you an example. Superman 3, the Leaning Tower of Pizza. Bad Superman straightens it up. One of the most disgusting things you can do, right? And that's why they got Superman to do it, right? This is Henry Cavill in the theatrical version of Justice League is the Leaning Tower of Pizza in Superman 3. They took his face and they denigrated it. They destroyed that man's beautiful face, right? And he has got a beautiful face. I'm a straight guy, but I'm saying the guy is a beautiful man. Actually, he's a beautiful man inside and out. He's such a gentleman. Exactly the kind of man who should be playing Superman. I don't want to hear about recasts, and I've done videos about recasts if we have to have one. And you know who I want? Chris Evans. But I don't want Chris Evans unless we have to have Chris Evans. But Henry Cavill is Superman. We want him back, and we want Zack back. So don't you start thinking that getting the Snyder Cut release, which is definitely going to happen, as I keep on telling you, is the end of the story. No. We have to keep on fighting for the real DCEU. And that's fine. And, and the people, and obviously James Wan can come back to do his Aquaman. And maybe Zack can get him to put a couple of his arcs in there as well. And David F. Sandberg can continue doing Shazam. I love what he did with the first one. And, Zack can tell him what to put in there. I mean, but for crying out loud, David F. Sandberg on his own put loads of MOS and BVS Easter eggs in there anyway. Thank you, David. You are a gent. So basically, it's a shared universe. It's the shared universe that we've got. And I think it's important we fight for that. We fight for Zack's vision, just not with releasing the Snyder Cut, but the complete DCEU. He did a great job, no matter what anyone said. So fight for the Snyder Cut alongside me, Movies TV Man on Twitter. Then we start the next part of this fight. Now we have got an interesting article here from Screen Rant. DC's new horror comic is set in Stephen King's universe. Now, I think this is pretty awesome, and I've got a theory about this. Let me read this to you. The new horror imprint from DC, dubbed Hill House Comics, has officially begun its run with the arrival of Basketful of Heads, one by author Joe Hill. And it only took on issue to show why fans of Stephen King may want to be paying special attention to this story. Parallels between the two writers have been made for years. It makes sense as father and son, but as Hill's own writing credits have grown to include Lock and Key, what's that? No S4A2 in the Tall Grass, recently adapted into a Netflix film, and more, both authors' worlds have come to stand on their own. But thanks to Basketful of Heads, it appears Hill is taking a playful step into the universe established by Stephen King's greatest novels. The first bombshell is dropped in the pages of Basketful of Heads by Joe Hill and Leomax in a single panel containing preferences to both Shawshank Prison and Derry, Maine. Wow. The former being the setting of King's novella Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, best known as the source material for Frank Darabont's film, The Shawshank Redemption. For the most part, it's a break from King's usual horror fare, telling the story of a prisoner who escapes by digging a tunnel little by little over the course of decades. It's far from a new idea to connect Stephen King's writing into a singular universe. It's not even the first time we learn the connection between Shawshank and Derry. Multiple characters from it served time there. It is full of references to other King books. The Shining, Dick Halloran, who returns in the sequel. Dr. Sleep was one of the survivors of the fire that killed Mike Hanlon's parents. Characters in Dreamcatchers and 11/22/63 have been treated to glimpses of it as they travel through Derry and the otherworldly macroverse that birthed. It also provides monsters for books like The Mist and Dark Tower series. Basketful of Heads' proximity to an evil influence of Derry suggests that something very bad is brewing for its heroes, and their situation is already pretty dire. In the first issue, June Branch and her cop boyfriend Liam are trapped in the house of Liam's boss with 4 prisoners who'd escaped from a Shawshank van. The flash forward on the first page suggests she won't be the same once she leaves, showing a figure hidden under a yellow raincoat, carrying the titular basketful of heads. And the heads are still talking. Oh my God. And the pilot synopsis suggests things are only going to get uglier. Now she must fight for her life with the help of an impossible 8th century Viking axe that can pass through a man's neck in a single swipe and leave the severed head still conscious and capable of supernatural speech. Wow! Each disembodied head has a malevolent story of its own to tell, and it isn't long before June finds herself in a desperate struggle to hack through their lives and manipulations, racing to save the man she loves before time runs out. With more secrets promised to be coming in each issue, it's likely fans will see even more connections to the King universe as the series goes on. Let's just hope Pennywise isn't somehow involved. Well, this is interesting, and the reason you're thinking, Mick, this is the DCEU Daily. Well, this is DC's new horror comic. It's set in Stephen King's universe, right? And I have a theory here, and this is the reason why I read it here. I believe the New Line Cinema team, who are running the DCEU right now, and who knows, if we win our battle to get Zack back, what's going to happen there? I don't think that has to change. I think Zack and Walter Hamada can work really well together. But I think this is coming. I think we are going to see a DC horror movie, sooner rather than later. I think it makes sense. New Line Cinema have great history in making horror, very successful horrors, very cheaply, making them a profit. I think this is why they made the Joker such a success. But imagine a proper Stephen King horror story set in the DC universe. You could bring Pennywise and cross him over with any of the DC characters. Why wouldn't they do it? It's something that hasn't been done. This is what I'm talking about. We've had 10 years of the MCU, which really people love, but it hasn't done anything too ambitious, right? But this would be really ambitious. I think this series of comics have been written on purpose to prepare us, because I believe a DC horror movie is coming, R-rated as well, co-written by Stephen King. I absolutely think that's the future, and I want to know what you think about that and what I've been saying about these different phases of battling for Zack. Comment down below, tell me what you think. Is the fight just about the Snyder Cut, or do we want Zack Snyder back, continuing his Justice League arc? I know I do, but I also want to know what you think. And would you be down for a DC horror movie co-written by Stephen King, like these series of comics, right? I would absolutely think that would be great R-rated set of movies as well. The DC movie universe is going to expand with New Line running it. So I'm very excited by these different pockets that they're doing, as I keep on mentioning. So please like, share and subscribe Please like the video, share the video and the channel, and subscribe to the channel as well. And don't forget, I'm over on Big Mouth all day making videos, so check me out on Instagram as well, and on my Twitter at Movies TV Man. There will be more DCEU Daily tomorrow, so until then, I'll catch you later.